All right, in this video, let's talk a little bit more about different functions we can use. So Excel has a lot of stock functions built into the game that can do calculations for you, and some of them are really easy to access. So for example, if I wanted, for some reason, I wouldn't know why you'd want to, but if you wanted to take all of these numbers and add them together, uh, which normally you would take out your calculator and you'd type them all in. Since they're already typed in, all we have to do is tell Excel we want to add that in. And as you saw with functions before, what we could do is we can actually type that in. So we could do equals, and you could do 1 plus 4 plus 9 and so on. But again, using Excel, it would make a lot more sense to use equals and click on this first number, plus click on the second number, plus click on the third number, and so on. By doing that, down here, our function, or up here, would start to fill in. And that would allow us to, if, for example, this number 9 changed at some point, our answer would then change. It would allow our spreadsheet to update itself automatically. But this is an example where a stock function built into Excel would really help us. So I'm going to highlight all of these and come up here to where it says AutoSum. Now, AutoSum has this little arrow drop down next to it, which gives us a lot of other options too. In this case, we're just going to sum. But you can see average, count numbers, max, min, and there are plenty more functions. Sine, cosine, standard deviation, and the list really goes on and on. So, but we're just going to click on sum, and notice what it's going to do. It's going to take all of our numbers here, and it's going to, since it's a long vertical list, it's going to add this to the end of that long vertical list. So there is our sum of all of those numbers. And just to show how powerful this is, again, watching this, if I come over here and change the 5 to say 50, remember that 25 over here is just whatever this number is squared. And this answer is whatever all of this added together is. So if I change this to a 50, notice that this changed, and thus this number changed. If you had done this on your calculator, you'd have to redo all that work. If you had done it in Excel by literally typing in all of the numbers instead of clicking on the cells, you'd also have to redo all of that work. Just to show some of the other functions that we have here, we could take this set and we could find its average, or we could take this set and, oh, well, speaking of that, I was going to say we could take the average of this set, but remember how we were able to drag that formula down when we wanted all of these to add 5, or when we wanted all of these to be squared? We can also take this formula, this average of what numbers are in column A, and we can drag this over, again, using that small little square in the bottom right-hand corner. We can drag that over, and look at that. It drags the same formula, but now instead of looking at all the things in column A, it's going to look at all the numbers in column B and add them together. Also, looking back at the sum, this is a formula you could have used. You could have just done equals sum and then highlighted all of those together. So that would look like this: equals sum, and then highlight all those numbers. So you have a lot of different ways to do the same thing, but what you shouldn't do, again, is just type in the numbers either into your calculator or into Excel. You should click on the cells and use whatever function is appropriate. Now, another thing I want to show you is regarding sig figs, or decimal places specifically. We might see that maybe these times in 1 second on our stopwatch or whatever really has 2 decimal places. But you can see here, you don't get 2 decimal places. We can change that by highlighting any number that this is for. And I would usually wait till you put in all of your data and then highlight it. So now that all of these times are in, I want them all to have 2 decimal places. So right up here where it says number, right here, there are 2 buttons. One decreases the number of decimal places, and the other increases the number. Don't worry if you click the wrong one. If you'll find out soon enough, and then you just click the other one. So if I click the wrong one, it doesn't like that because there are no decimal places. If I did that down here, that would be fine. So We'll highlight those and we'll add some decimal places. There we go. Now we have 2 decimal places. Again, the calculation we did won't automatically update for that, so we'll just remove decimal places as well there. So easy enough to change the number of decimal places on any of your data. I'll get rid of that though, so it'll match more of the worksheet that you have. All right. Another common issue that people have is they want to try to merge cells. So for example, if you had some data, let's say you had trial 1 and then you wanted to have trial 2 and trial 3. And notice, see, I didn't even have to type that, right? Excel was smart enough to figure out maybe there's a pattern going on. And I want to have a heading above it. Like maybe all of these were, temperatures that we recorded in Celsius degrees. So a lot of times people don't like that this is not in line with it. So what you could do is just click on these 3 cells and click on up here where it says merge and center. And what that's going to do is that's going to combine all of those into one big cell now. Never use merge and center though when you have numbers that you're going to be calculating with data. It's okay for headings. It's not okay for what you're doing with data. It'll really mess up calculations later on. Another thing you don't want to ever do with our data is right here, when we put in all of these times or positions, don't put units after them. Don't make this 1 second, 2 seconds, because you can already see what's happening. Excel, as soon as it sees a letter like that, is going to think that these are no longer numbers. It's going to think these are words, and thus they can't be calculated with. Over here, it broke these formulas completely because it didn't know how to square 1s, whatever that represents. Down here, this average function actually decided that it was just going to disregard these 2 and average only the numbers 3 through 80. So, just be careful with that. I know it's very tempting to want to write that there, but also it's just easier and cleaner to just put the units in the heading and not all the way down. All right, so that's going to be it for this video. In the next video, we are going to look at how to make graphs from this.